Two 12-year-old girls, a knife, and a dark figure they believed was watching them from the shadows. In 2014, deep in the quiet suburbs of Waukesha, Wisconsin, a crime unfolded that shocked the entire world. Not because it involved drugs, not because it was a gang, but because it was committed by two 6th-grade girls who believed they had to kill their best friend to please a fictional internet monster. That monster's name, Slender Man. They lured their friend into the woods. They whispered to each other when to strike. And then they stabbed her 19 times. But the most chilling part, the victim survived. And what she told police revealed a story so twisted, so surreal, it felt like it had been pulled from a nightmare. This isn't a creepypasta. This isn't a horror movie. This really happened. Stay with us as we uncover the dark truth behind one of the most disturbing cases of child-on-child violence in modern American history. This is the Slender Man stabbing. Waukesha, Wisconsin, a small, quiet city with tree-lined streets and neat suburban homes. It's the kind of place where neighbors wave, kids ride bikes, and crime feels far away. But on May 31st, 2014, that illusion shattered. Three 12-year-old girls were spending the night together. Their names, Anissa Wire, Morgan Geyser, and Peyton Leutner, who friends called Bella. They weren't unusual kids. They liked video games, reading, making up stories. But online, they had discovered something darker. They became obsessed with a character called Slender Man, a faceless, tall creature in a black suit with unnaturally long limbs. No eyes, no mouth, no expression. He was born from an internet myth, a creepypasta written to scare. But Morgan and Anissa believed he was real. They said he lived in a mansion deep in the forest, that he watched people, that he could kill their families if they disobeyed him. And they believed the only way to please him was to make a sacrifice. They didn't pick a stranger. They chose their best friend, Peyton. Anissa later told police it was necessary. If we didn't do it, Slender Man would hurt us and our families. Over several months, Morgan and Anissa whispered in secret. They planned how they'd do it, where, when, how. They even looked up how to kill someone quickly. They were 12. The night before the attack, the three girls had a sleepover at Morgan's house. They played games, ate snacks, watched movies. Peyton had no idea she was sleeping next to two people who were planning to end her life. The next morning, they went to the park. They laughed, they talked, and then they walked into the woods. The woods were quiet, just the sound of birds, wind through the trees, and 3 pairs of footsteps. Peyton had no idea what was coming. They told her they wanted to play a game, hide and seek. Simple, innocent, like any kids would. But it wasn't a game. Morgan and Anissa had already tried once that morning. Inside a public bathroom at the park, Morgan brought a knife. She told Anissa she would do it there, in the stall. But something felt wrong. Morgan said she was too tired to go through with it. So they waited, smiled, pretended everything was fine. Then they suggested the woods. "It'll be more private," Anissa said. "We can play a better version of the game." Peyton followed. She trusted them. She had no reason to be afraid. Until they told her to lie down. "Let's play hide and seek," Morgan said again. "You hide here. Close your eyes. Cover yourself with leaves." Peyton lay down on the forest floor. She was confused, but still thought this was part of the game. And then Morgan pulled out the knife. Anissa turned away. She later said she couldn't watch. Morgan whispered, "I'm so sorry." And then she began to stab. Once, twice, again and again, 19 times. Peyton screamed, begged, cried. One of the wounds missed her heart by less than a millimeter. Another cut through her diaphragm. One pierced her liver. When it was over, Morgan and Anissa told her to lie still. They said they'd get help, but they left her bleeding in the woods. They didn't go for help. They walked away, toward a highway, hoping to find Slender Man's mansion. They believed he would welcome them now. But Peyton didn't die. She crawled, bleeding, crying, pulling herself through the forest. She saw light. A man on a bicycle found her near a path. She was barely alive, but she was alive. The police were called. The ambulance rushed her to the hospital. She had 19 stab wounds, and yet she survived. The doctors said it was a miracle. Meanwhile, Morgan and Anissa were found hours later, still walking. They had packed a few snacks in their backpacks. They told the officer, "We were going to live with Slender Man." What followed was even stranger than the crime itself. At the police station, both girls were questioned separately. They weren't crying, they weren't scared. They were calm, almost detached. Anissa, the quieter of the two, sat in a small gray room. She wore a pink hoodie and clutched a stuffed animal. The detective asked, "Why did you do it?" Anissa didn't hesitate. "We had to," she said. "It was to protect our families. Slender Man would have hurt them." She spoke about the mansion, about the forest. She truly believed Slender Man was waiting for them. The detective asked, "Where is this mansion?" Anissa looked him in the eye. "It's in Nicollet National Forest," she said. "We were going to walk there and become his servants." Meanwhile, in another room, Morgan Geyser was also being interviewed. She was the one who held the knife. She was the one who stabbed. Morgan didn't cry either. She told the detective that Slender Man spoke to her, that he watched her, that she could see him in her dreams and in the corners of rooms. "Did you hear voices?" the detective asked. "Yes," Morgan replied. "They told me to do it." At one point, the detective leaned forward. "Do you know what it means to kill someone?" Morgan paused. "I didn't want to, but I had to." The girls showed no remorse, no understanding of the gravity of what they had done. They weren't monsters. They weren't evil. They were children. But something in their minds was very, very wrong. The police didn't know what to do. This wasn't just a crime, it was madness. So they brought in psychiatrists, and what they found inside Morgan's mind shocked everyone. She'd been seeing things for years, hearing voices, believing in invisible people. Her parents didn't know, her teachers didn't know, no one did. The doctors diagnosed Morgan with early onset schizophrenia, a rare condition, especially in children that young. She wasn't just pretending to believe in Slender Man. She truly believed he was real. Anissa, on the other hand, was ruled to be under shared delusional disorder. She wasn't mentally ill on her own, but she had become consumed by Morgan's beliefs. They were two children, lost in a world of fantasy, fear, and obsession. But now, they were facing something very real. A courtroom. The case quickly became national news. People couldn't believe it. Two 12-year-old girls accused of attempted murder, a victim who survived 19 stab wounds, and a motive based on a creepypasta character. The big question was, should children be tried as adults? Wisconsin law allowed it. So Morgan and Anissa were charged with first-degree attempted homicide, the adult version of the crime. If convicted, they could face decades in prison. The public was divided. Some said, they're just kids. They didn't know what they were doing. Others argued, they knew enough to plan, to hide, to lie. That's not innocence. Peyton Leutner, the victim, had survived, but barely. She had to undergo multiple surgeries. She suffered from severe trauma, nightmares, and fear of being alone. But she was strong. She returned to school. She spoke little about what happened, but her silence was powerful. As the trial began, new details came out. Morgan had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. Her father had the same illness. She believed Slender Man lived in her house. She talked to ghosts. She thought voices in her head were real people. Anissa was different. She cried in court. She said she was sorry. But she still claimed she believed Slender Man would hurt her family. Psychiatrists took the stand. They said Morgan wasn't faking. Her condition was real and dangerous. The court had to decide, was she mentally responsible for her actions? In 2017, 3 years after the attack, both girls took plea deals to avoid full trials. Morgan was found not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. She was sentenced to 40 years in a mental health facility. Anissa was also found not guilty due to mental illness. She received 25 years in a psychiatric institution. No prison, no bars, but not freedom either. They would live under constant evaluation. Doctors, therapists, locked doors. In 2021, Anissa was released after nearly 7 years. She now lives under strict supervision, with GPS monitoring and regular mental health check-ins. Morgan remains in a secure facility. She has petitioned for release, but judges have denied it. The verdict shocked many. Some said justice was served, others that it was too soft. But one thing was clear. This case was never just black and white. It was a story of mental illness, obsession, and a terrifying blur between fantasy and reality. The Slender Man stabbing wasn't just a shocking crime. It became a symbol of something bigger. A warning about how fiction can twist into belief. How children can fall into digital rabbit holes they don't fully understand. And how the internet's darkest corners can spill into the real world. After the attack, Creepypasta.com, the website where Slender Man stories thrived, released a statement. Slender Man is a work of fiction. We do not condone any acts of violence inspired by stories on our site, but the damage was done. Peyton Leutner, the survivor, eventually spoke out. Years later, she told ABC News, "Without what happened, I wouldn't be who I am." She forgave her attackers, but not because she excused them, because she wanted to live without hate. Peyton graduated high school with honors. She moved forward, scarred but strong. The case is now studied in schools, universities, and FBI training programs. It's cited in discussions about juvenile justice, mental illness in children, and digital mythology. And still, people wonder, how did 2 girls fall so deep into a fantasy that they nearly killed for it? Was it loneliness? Was it illness? Was it something darker? Something hiding in the spaces between reality and belief? One thing is certain. The scars left in that forest didn't just belong to Peyton. They belong to a generation learning how dangerous belief without boundaries can be. And in the quiet parts of the internet, Slender Man still lingers, not as a threat, but as a reminder that what we create in our imaginations sometimes escapes us.